Hi everyone, I'm Gloria, and I have a special gift that I want to share with you now. You'll probably think I'm superhuman, and it will be partly true, because my eyes are not quite normal. The thing is, I've been blind since birth, but I can see more than the sighted. In short, about everything in order, I'll start the story for now, and don't forget to like my story, subscribe to the channel, and write your opinion in the comments. I will be grateful. Well, let's go. As I said, I was born a blind girl. No one knows why this happened. My mother and father are healthy. My mother obediently showed up to the doctor every month, passed tests, and so on. They were very much waiting for me because I am their only child and welcomed. However, my parents were already aged. When I was born, my mother was already 46 years old. It was risky to have children at that age, but what could she do if she and father had only found each other then? My mother told me that when I was born, everything was normal. For the first 2 days, I slept and hardly woke up, and then the doctor noticed that I reacted strangely to light in any way. All my other reflexes worked, but my eyes didn't. I was checked by doctors all over the department, and my mother was already worried because nothing had been explained to her yet. And when it became clear after the results of tests and a consultation of doctors, they came to my mother's room and said that her child was blind. This was a blow to my elderly parents. They were confused and had no idea what to do now. Time passed, and soon they accepted it. They were taught how to take care of their blind daughter, set up the house, and made everything comfortable for me. And then I was 1 year old, and my mother began to notice some strange things. I watched my mother, how she went from room to room, how she came to me. I screamed and cried when I saw her leave the room where I was sitting. At first, she thought I could hear her footsteps, but then she and Dad started experimenting. They walked on tiptoe and noticed that I still seemed to notice them with my eyes. And when my dad brought home my first toy and handed it to me, and then moved it to another corner and I went to it, they realized that I could still see. It was incredible, because in the hospital, all the doctors unanimously assured them that I was blind, that my eyes were not responding. But at the same time, I looked at the doctors, saw their faces. I saw a window, a door, and I went there. I really liked the sunlight, and my eyes longed to look at the sun. My gift became a sensation in the medical field. Many doctors invited me to their homes for free, just to study, look, feel. At first, my parents were willing to drive here and there, but then they got tired, just like me. Then I learned how to talk, and I asked my mom and dad to give it up and let me stay at home. Around the age of 4 to 5, people around me got used to me. My mom and dad bought me special sunglasses so people wouldn't notice my eyes, so no one would ever guess I was blind. But I don't see everything. Some details remain invisible. I saw more silhouettes, energy, and sometimes colors. I also had something that scared my mother. It was only as I got older that I realized what my pictures meant. The fact is that each person had their own color, and it burned next to their heart. Well, how can I explain it to you? It's a kind of soul. Each had its own color. For example, if it was dark, then the person is old, and he will soon die or he is very ill. If it is yellow or orange, it means that everything is fine with it and it is young. Rather, it is a child or a teenager. This way, I could see through almost everyone, including myself. My mother and father were at first afraid of this discovery, but then they also got used to it and kept it a secret from others. This gift helped me in society. When meeting people, I also felt who was good and who was bad, and I tried to avoid the latter and also protected my parents from them. I even went to a school for the blind. By the way, I was not at all embarrassed by the status of a person with disabilities, because I am no worse than others, And as my mother says, on the contrary, I am special. Since then, many years have passed, and I have learned to live with my gift among others. I've communicated, met people, and everything is fine. My mother made me promise that I would never reveal my secret so that there would be no problems, and I agreed with her. Well, once my friends and I went for a walk. It was a sunny day. I loved to bask in the rays. While my friends went to choose a new perfume, I decided to wait for them on the street on a bench. Suddenly, I felt a negative energy. It was coming fast, very fast. I turned my head and noticed that a man was driving at breakneck speed. He was very bad. I felt that he was not sober. And then I heard that a child was running out to the road. It was a girl of 4 years old. Her mother was talking to someone on the side of the road and did not notice how her daughter was running towards the road. The driver saw the child, but he was so drunk that he couldn't even think to stop. I ran to the side of the road, grabbed the child, and pulled him to myself. The car flew past and didn't stop. His mother screamed all over the street. My glasses fell to the ground, and so did my wand for the blind. I was holding the baby in my arms when my friends came out. All the people froze. The mother took the child and began to thank me, and only then realized that I was blind. I saw the frozen questions on people's faces. They were all scared and shocked. Their energy was telling. I couldn't explain anything, so I said I wanted to go home. My friends didn't say a word on the way. They just took me home, kissed me, and left. I had to tell my mother everything. She praised me for my bravery, but now there was a problem, because now I had witnesses. My girlfriends told everyone else, plus passers-by took everything on camera, so fame was assured the next morning. My parents had to pay a tidy sum to keep it in the local press. They wanted me to live a quiet life. About 6 months later, we decided to move to another city, and the story remained a legend. I had to cut all ties with my friends, and my parents also with their friends, because now we have a new life. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we're running away from attention, but on the other hand, I'm thinking about how to use my gift correctly. After all, if I saved one life, maybe I can save another. What do you think? What do you know about arguments and excitement? I think I know almost everything. My name is Milana, and I was born in Las Vegas. Even my place of birth speaks for itself. Excitement is in my blood. My parents met during a game of poker. My father was a player, and my mother was the one who dealt the cards. She was working in a casino at the time. Dad won many times and then lost, and after each loss came to take revenge. So they flirted with each other for about a couple of weeks, and then he finally decided to ask her out. 6 months later, they were married at the same casino where my mother worked. Over time, father got a job there in order to simultaneously protect her from other men's bribes. My mother was a prominent one, so we always had playing cards in the house, unnecessary chips. I remember when I was growing up, my mom and dad always played together in the evenings and taught me. When I was 6 years old, I was a master at playing cards. When I was 8, I played with my parents and even won sometimes. I liked the feeling of victory. It was also interesting to plunge into the game. You never know what is waiting for you, and it was fascinating. Well, the coolest thing started when I entered school. Oh, how many times my parents were called because I was playing in the back. But I was interested in watching the surprised faces of my classmates. They were so attentive to my hands, to the tricks that I learned to do with cards. After school, we chose a place in the park, Square Park, and I just played. Or rather, I taught the children how to lay out cards, cheat unnoticeably, and place bets based on the behavior and condition of the player. Well, I couldn't help it. This attention that I received from the environment was too sweet, and over time, I got used to it. I was like the card queen of the class. There was no one who could surpass my skill in sleight of hand. However, this did not last long. My crown was removed from my head by our new classmate. He came in the middle of the year, moved with his parents from another city. When I started to lay out the next set of cards, he came up to us at recess and stared at my hands. I noticed it, and I thought, am I just imagining it? But I wasn't. In just a fraction of a second, he snatched the cards out of my hands and began almost juggling them, performing tricks that I'm still trying to learn. Oh, he's a scoundrel. Before my eyes and in the eyes of my classmates, my authority was failing. Now the title of the best is no longer mine, and I was not worthy. I was so angry, but I didn't even know his name. So I snatched my deck out of his hands and told him to go to hell. I came home in a bad mood. I was very angry with him. Why did this happen? What the hell? Why was he in my class? How do I use my fame now? I spent the whole evening complaining about it to my mother, and she just laughed and then advised me to have a fair fight for the title of the card leader in the class. I didn't immediately understand what that meant. My mother explained that if I do not want to fall face down in the dirt in front of the guys, I must prove not only the skill of sleight of hand, I must also prove that I also have a character of steel, that I am not afraid of competition, and I do not perceive defeat as anything but a springboard to the sky. Yes, it's decided. I will fight tomorrow. The next morning, I woke up earlier than usual, carefully selected my wardrobe, and went to school determined. I brought my best deck of cards, which my father gave me. They were the first in my life and always brought good luck. After school, I suggested that Maximilian, as he was called, play a game of 21, and he agreed. We met in the park, and our classmates gathered around us. It was quite a sight for them. I've never been so nervous before a game as I was that time. What do you think? I started losing right away. I demanded revenge again and again, and I was unlucky. I already thought that maybe he was cheating, but no matter how hard I tried to see his face, mood, and facial expressions, everything seemed to be clear. This can't be happening, I shouted, throwing my cards on the ground. I was so angry that I could have kicked him in the face. We played for hours on end. My hands were already cramping and my head was aching from the exertion. I couldn't believe I was losing to Maximilian. It wasn't my day. I took my bag and went home angry. My mother listened to my emotional story and said that with such strong enemies, it is better to stay close, so it will be more useful to be his friend. But I wasn't going to be friends with someone who had trampled on my reputation. All the next day at school, I didn't talk to anyone, much less look in Maximilian's direction. I was disgusted by him. But suddenly, he came up to me during lunch and offered to eat at the diner after school. He must be up to something, I thought. I was about to tell him to go away, but I suddenly remembered my mother's advice about enemies. Okay, I told him. As agreed, I met with him after class. Max immediately started with a case. I know you're mad at me. You were the best card player here before I came along. But I didn't play you on purpose. It's just the way I am. I play well, and you make a few mistakes. I don't want to compete with you, but if you want to prove your coolness, let's choose a neutral battlefield. Let the guys come up with tests for us, and we will pass them, he said. I sipped my milkshake and knew he was right. That's what I needed. I agreed, and we agreed with our classmates to go camping next weekend. Our classmates tried hard enough. They came up with such crazy tasks that some of them wanted to scream with fear. Marguerite came up with a competition to see who could drink a liter of water faster. Mark gave us a speed run. Donna came up with chemistry and math problems. And Trinity asked us to sing a song. Let's take a bet. Who will eat a kilo of worms? George asked us. Max just frowned. The score was the same, so it was the last and decisive contest. I couldn't back down, and my blood was racing. I shouted, trying not to imagine what was waiting for me. Maximilian looked at me, as did all the other boys, with great surprise. Look, you don't have to do this. I've already realized that you are a stubborn person, Maximilian said, but I gave my word and I had to keep it. Then George handed me a kilo of jelly worms and said, "You win." Oh, yes! I won! It was a contest for stubbornness and fortitude. I made it! Everyone was laughing at George's great prank, and Max shook my hand. I was happy and finally calmed down. All in all, it was just a crazy day. And since then, Max and I have become friends because we have so many interests in common, right?